Is BackMarket a huge scam, and are they actually selling potatoes instead of phones? In this video, I put them to the test to find out exactly what they're selling, what sort of condition they're selling it in, and whether I think it's worth buying from BackMarket. So without further ado, let's jump straight in. But first of all, who are BackMarket? BackMarket are a company that have this idea of changing the world by only selling refurbished devices to stop things like e-waste, things like that, which, you know what? Brilliant. That's what we're here for. Save the earth, save the planet. This is BackMarket's pure mantra, and they say they want nothing but refurbished tech in the market. They don't agree with Apple. They don't agree with Samsung. They think you should only buy from them. Let's find out whether that's a bunch of cuckus or whether or not we should actually buy from BackMarket. So just for clarity, when you buy a phone from BackMarket, you're not actually buying a phone from BackMarket. You're buying it from a seller who uses BackMarket to sell to you. Now, this is a pretty simple idea. They're not the first people to do it. Amazon have been doing it for years and years, but they've adopted it in a space where tech is involved. So to tech, quite new. To most of us, we're used to Amazon. So just bear that in mind. What it also means is when you buy a phone, it won't normally be the seller, it's normally BackMarket. Now with that out of the way, let's jump into what BackMarket offer. Because like most companies, they have their own grading system for secondhand phones. So we have fair, we have good, and we have excellent. These three grades define what kind of phone you should be getting when you place an order. So let's start with fair. It's an absolute pick and mix as to what you're getting with this. It's either going to be a phone that's been involved in a rugby scuffle, a phone that's been dropped hundreds of times, or it's going to be something which has somehow made its way into fair, even though it's excellent. There's no way of telling, there's no way of choosing. You just sort of click fair and hope for the best. Fair is probably going to be for people who don't care as much about the appearance of their phone, and it's more of just a phone. But just beware, this condition is pretty awful, and you can end up with a phone that is completely battered. Now, onto good condition. This condition is one that you'd most likely find on Facebook Marketplace or Gumtree. The idea here is that good condition is a phone that probably represents the age of phone, albeit it's being kept in good condition. This is also the condition that's most likely to not have been repaired, but there's no guarantee. So good condition, although it is the most popular choice, it also holds a little bit of risk, just as all the conditions do. Personally, this is the one I would choose. Now, excellent condition is the elite. This is where you would find a phone that looks brand new or as close to brand new as possible. It's also a condition where you're most likely to find a repaired component or a replacement component. This being the case, you do have the look of a brand new phone, but you may find some issues with the replacement parts. We'll get into that. So with that being said, I went ahead and ordered the iPhone 12 Pro in Pacific Blue. I ordered the 128 gig. I also opted for the good condition. As mentioned, it's the most popular condition. So I wanted to show you guys what to expect when you get a good condition. Now the phone actually arrived, I think last week sometime. I'll show you guys exactly what I have unboxing it in a video that's going to appear somewhere. It might be up there, wherever it might be. But the iPhone 12 arrived. It arrived in a box. It came with a charging cable and a SIM pin ejector. Now, interestingly, the charging cable was a USB-C to Lightning. I'm not sure that was the case when the phone was released, but it doesn't matter. All it means is I would need a USB-C power adapter. Now, the condition of the phone was somewhat expected. I did notice on the phone there were a few scratches on the screen. Not overly happy with these. Not because there's scratches, simply because the depth of the scratches. When I run my finger along it, I can actually feel the scratch, and it is quite prominent. Not to the point where I'm gonna go, whoa, what is this? This is a fair grade, because it's not. It is somewhat still a good grade phone. Now, one thing I did notice was the scratches around the charging port area. These were a little bit excessive. It looks like the phone's been in a case for most of its life, because you can actually see the ring around where the case charging port hole is. So, you know, whatever that accounts for, it's been in the case. All in all, not mad, but did notice the phone had been used, like it said. Now, the condition of the phone wasn't really my concern. Upon turning the phone on, I was greeted with a battery message. Now, these are infamous messages that most people will encounter going forward from the iPhone 11. Apple made it so that if you changed a component in one of their devices from the iPhone 11 onwards, a warning message would come up telling you that it's a non-original part, which is true. But they remind you every day, I think for 30 days. I'm sure they remind you every day for a set period, because they're basically saying there's something wrong with your phone. To make it worse, it's a red notification and it pops up every now and again. Another disappointing fact about this is that you can't see the battery health for as long as that battery message is popping up, meaning you don't actually know what the battery health is in your phone. Now, this is a problem. We need to know at all times what the battery health of our phone is, because if it dies, if it's faulty, things like that, we sort of need to know. Now, luckily, I know a way of checking the battery health simply by plugging it into any computer or Mac, downloading an app, and reading the cycle count. I noticed that it was 102%, which is actually possible if you put a battery in a phone that is a higher capacity. Now, that's not to say this has a 13 Pro battery or whatever. All it means is it's a third-party battery that's been put into the phone. Not a bad thing, but not great, because I can't see the battery health on the phone. They haven't programmed it with the phone. Now, there is a way that companies can actually transfer the IC from the original battery onto the new battery. Whoever sold me the phone hasn't done that, so I have the battery warning message. Very annoying. Unfortunately, this was never mentioned upon purchasing the iPhone. There's no mention of it on BackMarket. If you flick through their community hub page, there will be people mentioning it, and BackMarket defend this choice to say that this is completely normal. It's a good thing, because you have a new battery. It's not a good thing. Yes, we have a new battery in the phone, fantastic, but we don't know what the health is. We can't read it, we're getting warning messages. It's not ideal. So I can see how that's a huge red flag for most people. Now, it's fair to say the iPhones in particular have a fantastic audio system. This one doesn't, because the top speaker, which I found very shortly after being on a call, has actually blown. So it sounds very tinny, it sounds crackly. Overall, very unpleasant. Now, one thing I got when I purchased this phone, it was actually a picture of a phone, and you're not going to be able to read this, but it just says that the phone has gone through a complete 80-point check. Amongst the 80-point check, which there aren't 80 things listed on the phone just here, but we'll read them anyway. So one line here says microphones and speakers. Now, I can tell you right now that wasn't checked, because the speaker is blown and is faulty. That isn't such a good thing. And to be honest with you, it sort of dictates that the phone is slightly faulty because it has a damaged or faulty component, meaning it needs to be replaced. The irony. Regardless, you know, we've got the iPhone 12 Pro, pretty cool. I'm still liking it. These things haven't faced me yet. Okay, so I thought I'd test the phone for a bit, so I spent the day with it. With the battery message, I thought, you know what, I'm going to keep an eye on this battery because I have a feeling it's going to be faulty. Don't ask me why I thought that, I just thought that. Love and behold, by the time I set off in the morning, my morning commute, of which I walk generally around 15 to 20 minutes, I put on my favourite podcast. I consider the phone usage as light on my way to work because I like to look at, you know, the winter mornings, but nothing out of the ordinary. I do the same thing on my other iPhone 14 Pro. So leaving on 100%, 15-minute walk, listening to a podcast. Now, the crazy part about this is I'm not a heavy user. I probably spend around 2.5 to 3 hours a day on my phone, which is my screen time. By the time I got there around 8 o'clock until the time I left around 4:30, my phone was on 40% battery health, which I found this absolutely bizarre. This thing was dropping quickly. In fact, for a brand new battery to drop 50% in, you know, a couple of hours, something ain't right. Now, arguably, I could have turned the low power mode on throughout the whole day, but I wasn't going to do that. I wanted to test this like I'd be testing a new battery, so I did. Now, I tried the phone a few days later, and I actually found that if I didn't charge the phone to full, I'd get more out of it throughout the day. So I charged it to 56%. By the time I got to work, it was a 6% drop. So it was actually increased by 2-3% from the first day that I tried it. By the end of the day, it was on 22%. So it was actually less of a drop than originally charging it to full. Super strange. Basically, by the end of the week of using the phone, it wasn't doable. I couldn't last a full day using my phone for what I wanted to use it for without the fear of it dying. This is a huge, huge, huge red flag. The battery was new. It should be as good as new. Not new, but as good as new. I couldn't rely on the phone. And for me personally, being a not heavy user, I thought this was drastic. Having said that, it sounds all grim. It's not all grim. There are good points to this, such as the fact there's a 30-day return policy and a 365-day warranty. All joking aside, you get 30 days of which you can basically say, no thank you. If you still want to keep the phone after 30 days, you actually get a full year's warranty. This is pretty good, as most repairers here in the UK don't even offer a full year's warranty on component repairs, let alone phones themselves. So it is a huge plus. The phone itself also was not a bad price. Now, comparing this to Apple's Refurbished, it's a heck of a lot cheaper. In fact, it's actually a fraction of the price you'd pay if you was purchasing a phone from Apple, Refurbished. They're very different phones. I'll have a review. If I can, I'll leave it in the description below. But that still didn't take away from the fact that the speaker was blown, the battery was pretty damn crap. Not to mention the fact that the phone probably wasn't quality checked when it went out, because I don't think all 80 points were checked. Now, unfortunately, this is a bit of a disappointment. I think it really sheds some light, not just on BackMarket, but also phone sellers in general, and how the grading system can be quite mixed. One thing I would definitely do before purchasing a phone on BackMarket is to look on a site like eBay. Now, although you don't get a year's warranty, you will find a cheaper phone and probably get to choose, or at least see, if the phone has had any repairs, or at least ask. There's no option to ask BackMarket or a seller before you purchase a phone whether it's had a repair. So unfortunately, you have to put your hand in the lucky dip bag and hope for the best. Now, I have to admit, the returns process was pretty simple. I simply went on my order, said that there was a problem with the phone itself, wrote down exactly what it was. An agent came back to me, although a day later of just sort of hanging around, came back and said, there's nothing wrong with the battery. It's actually a good sign that we've replaced the battery. Amongst other things, which I'll show you guys exactly what they wrote. They strangely then sent me a returns form afterwards. So, you know, it is what it is. But in general, the 30-day return policy, that is your golden egg should you have a problem with any phone device that you purchase from BackMarket. So all in all, would I recommend purchasing a phone from BackMarket? Well, one thing I can confirm is that they don't send you potatoes. This is a phone, it has an IMEI, it does what it says it does, just not very well, but I am returning it. So, you know, make of that what you will. Personally, I wouldn't buy another phone from BackMarket. I am curious to try another phone, but I won't be doing it for a while. I think it's fair to say that everyone's going to have a different experience to what I have, so don't take my word for it. If you want to buy a phone from BackMarket, go ahead, don't let me stop you, but at least consider my experience before you do purchase your next device. Otherwise, I'm just going to put in a B-roll here of a few of the shots from what I took off the iPhone 12 Pro, because all in all, it is a stunning device. Hopefully you took something from this video. If you found it at all useful, please be sure to give it a like, comment what your thoughts are on BackMarket. If you've had any experiences, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell icon to stay notified. My name is Josh. Thank you for watching.